Welcome back, Soaps. Now, what we've got here is some pea blossom tea. Now, this has a particularly interesting property to it. And what we're going to do is we've got some hot distilled water here, and I'm going to pour this over the tea, and you'll see exactly why this tea has an interesting property. The water has gone blue. So tea, this pea blossom tea, or butterfly pea tea, has this property that it leaches this blue colour out, and it's one of those teas that's like supposed to be very good for you, and it's got lots of benefits and antioxidants. But it has this interesting property of turning blue. The other really interesting thing about this tea is it has a very interesting metamorphosis in the presence of an acid. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to show you here. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to steep this tea for a little bit and just pull out some of that blue colour. Now you can see I'm not spending too much time kind of playing around with it. We're just going to really get it kind of steeped into here. And we'll get it strained off in a minute. Now, you can get this tea online. You can get it from most tea suppliers. So if you wanted to give this a go and taste it, by all means, give it a go. It is a little bit expensive, but I wanted to see how this was going to react within soap because of its very unique property. So let's just strain off these buds here, strain off the water and get some clear fluid, this clear liquid into our beaker. And as you can see, we've got this kind of bluey kind of colour. As I lifted it up there, you can just see it. What we're actually now going to do is just pour some lemon juice. This is lemon juice here. And we're going to take that lemon juice and pour it into the tea. And I'm going to let you see exactly what happens in real time here. So in the lemon juice goes, and look, it turns from a blue to this beautiful magenta colour in the presence of an acid. So this tea changes colour. It changes colour in the presence of an acid. It goes from that blue colour, this beautiful kind of magenta, pinky. It's gorgeous. And there's the difference between the two of them. So it changed colour in the presence of that acid. Now, because it changed colour in the presence of an acid, I wondered whether it would change to a different colour or whether it would actually work in the presence of an alkali. And as you should know, if you deal with soap, or if you don't know, lye solution or sodium hydroxide is what we call a base. So if acid is at one end of the spectrum, the base is at the other end. And I wanted to see whether this liquid would change colour in the presence of a base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weigh out the quantity of water, of distilled water that I need. Now this particular batch, I've brewed it with some really hot distilled water, and I've really let it steep for a good few hours overnight. So I've got this really deep colour going on. And I just want to see whether we'll get a different colour change by using lye in it. So I'm going to pour off the amount of water that I need for my batch of soap. And then we're going to add our lye solution. Sorry, we're going to add our sodium hydroxide pearls into here and see whether we get any colour change in there. So we try just to get the exact amount. And again, being super accurate is not always necessary, but I like to try and be as accurate as possible so that my soaps always work. So here we've got our water, and let's add our lye into here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up a little bit of a magnifying bit here so you can see just past my fingers, and I'm giving this a quick stir here. My fingers are getting away, but check this out. Look at that. We've gone into like a reddy orangey colour. It's gone a completely different colour to the other way. So my theory was right, is that if it reacted with an acid, it would react with a base. And as you can see from this next shot here, just as I get my hand out of the way, it's gone this kind of reddy, pinky, orangey colour. So we certainly had a reaction there. And I'm just going to let this do its thing, and it's getting really deep and really red, and we're going to just let that sit and do its thing. Now, I also had a bit of a thought as well, as if the acid has taken it from a blue to a magenta colour, I wonder if adding lye or a base into this solution would bring it back to being a blue. So I've added a little bit of sodium hydroxide into this. And this is an experiment. This is just going to get thrown away and disposed of properly. But if you watch now, as I add more lye or sodium hydroxide flakes into here, can you see that colour changing back to blue? And it's getting darker and it's going back. So we have a reaction here that's kind of changing both ways. And I thought that was just a little bit interesting and a little bit, it played to my kind of wannabe scientific mind, but there we go. So we know that it changed colour in acid. We know that it changed colour in base. Will that colour transfer into our batter and will it last? So as you can see here, I've got my batter. I've got some various powders and my usual kind of kaolin clay and stuff in there. The colour that goes in is this really kind of deep browny orange. So it's certainly altered the colour of it, and you see that really orangey colour. And I'm going to just mix this through into my soap and see whether we get a change in the colour of the batter. So let's just get this kind of started mixing here, and look at that. You can see almost immediately it's had an effect on the batter. It's gone really orange. And again, this is a blue flower that goes pink in acid, and it's got this really orange colour in a base. I don't know whether that's going to pull through into the soap, whether it's going to discolour, but that's what I'm going to kind of doing this for, to see what happens. I'm not doing this for any benefits or properties in the soap. This soap was actually fragranced with just some kind of driftwood fragrance oil that I had left over. So this is for personal use, but you can see there that it's kind of created this orangey colour in the batter. What I did notice as well is the batter stayed very, very, very fluid for quite some time, which I was quite surprised by. So what you'll see here is I'm just kind of blending it, and I'm just trying to get everything together and working through into this batter. It also, I think, reacted a little bit with the kaolin clay in there, and I did get some clumps, but I was able to blend those out. So it was a very interesting way and an interesting thing to look at whilst I was doing this particular soap, and I just wanted to see how it was going to work. So in order just to create some interest in the soap, what I'm doing here is just pouring a little bit of blue mica. I thought, well, as it's a butterfly blossom and it has this blue colour, I'm just going to pour a little bit of a swirl of blue through it, and then I'm going to keep the other batter uncoloured and see what colour we get from it. So I'm just going to blend through into this little bit of soap here. And again, it stayed really fluid for quite some time. It was a wonderful batter to work with and a really nice batter to pour. It didn't seem to affect it very much, as I say, except for that little bit of reaction with the kaolin clay. I have no idea why that might have happened. So let's pour this now. So you can see here, nice fluid batter. It's staying really nice and workable. It worked really well with the fragrance oil. I'm just going to pour a little bit of this blue, and this is thickening up a little bit more, but I did stick blend this a little bit more. So we're going to just do a very simple drop swirl with that. Go back to our original bucket here and pour another little bit of that on top. So we're kind of breaking up the soap that we've already poured in. And we're going to go to the blue again and do another drop swirl. So we're kind of stacking a drop swirl on top of one another. And then we're basically just going to finish the top of this off, leave it to saponify overnight, and we'll come back tomorrow and see what sort of colour shift, if any, we get from using butterfly pea flower tea as a substitute for just distilled water. So obviously I'm going to use up the last of the batters here, and I'm going to play around with the top a little bit and just see what we get from using the various kind of tools available to me. And I thought I'll do a little bit of a swirl in here, and it basically covered the top, and I thought, quite like the blue, let's add a bit of gold onto that. So I just sprinkled a little bit of gold mica powder, went through with the tool again, thought quite like that. So here we are back with the cup. I'm going to take a little bit off the edge here. We'll slice through this and see whether we've got any colour change. And as you can see, hopefully in a second when I put them down, let's just wait for this second cut here. Now, I could have probably left this a little while longer in the mould, but it was absolutely fine. we didn't get very much colour change. There's a little bit of discoloration around the edge, and it's a little kind of pinky orangey around the edge, but it seems perfectly fine, and we had no colour change realistically in the batter whatsoever. So using a butterfly pea flower tea as a substitute is not really going to change the colour. It's not going to really add anything from a visual point of view to your bar. And it just depends on whether you feel that the antioxidants that will provide in the tea is going to come through strongly in the overall bar itself. And that's entirely for you to think and understand and want to know. But ultimately, we didn't get very much of a colour change in here. So if I just pop this down for you to have a little look at, you'll see that we didn't really get a colour change there, did we? So there we go with our final kind of bars, and if we look at them in all their glory, this is a few weeks later, and as you can see here, the colours are actually deepened quite a lot. Now in this little spiral here, you'll see there's a white bar, which is my standard colour that my recipe will come out at, that I've used here. As you can see, it's significantly darker, but we've got a lovely drop swirl in there and some gold on the top, and it's a lovely bar of soap, and it does bubble really, really well. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me grow and allows me to make more videos and tutorials for all of you. When you subscribe, don't forget to click the bell icon if you'd like to get notified when a new video is uploaded. And thanks a lot, Soapsters. I'll see you again next time.